I'm alive. I shouldn't be.
He should not be alive. This is unfucking believable.
From the heart of trucker America, my boy Reed Coverdale, host of The Naturalist Capitalist.
This is what government does. It sucks.
If you think you're going to win people over by stating commonplaces, you're just selling the other part.
It is about dictating every transaction that you have for the rest of your life.
Mr. Potato Head.
Coverdale is the guy to be president of the United States.
You intimidated me with your perfect 74 stat.
That was the beginning of my problems.
A guy doing what he loved, chasing a minor.
But I'll put a 50 cal attached to my Suburban.
Libertarians need to get out of New York.
The gulag is going to be in your house.
This guy's a fucking murderer. He deserves to be in a
gun. Gotta get him out of that truck at night and get him into the White House.
Hey, everybody. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of The Naturalist Capitalist and our 20th installment of the Four Horsemen. Still have only had one removed. I'm sure we'll be able to outdo that number pretty soon. But I'm pretty amazed I'm still on YouTube this late into the year, honestly. I thought 2022 was going to be it, especially with all the Russian and Chinese propaganda I've been spouting from here. But we're still here, so we'll take it as long as we can. I hope everyone's holding in there well. It's been a kind of crazy week. We had the instead of the red wave, we had a blood clot, and the fallout from that's been interesting. I'm sure we'll get into it in the show. But anyway, first of all, I wanted to introduce President Trump and ask him why he thinks Ron DeSanctimonious did so well and his endorsements didn't really fare as well as he had hoped.
Well, Reed, thank you for having me. I'm a very big fan. I love nature, I love natural, and I love capital, okay? I really do. But DeSanctimonious is a loser. He didn't really do that well in Florida. He got a lot of dead people to vote for him. He got a lot of people in the villages who normally would vote for me. But let me tell you, Tuesday I'm going to make a very big announcement, and by the time I'm done with DeSanctimonious, he's going to be gator feed in the Everglades. Believe me. Believe me. Number 20, Reed. Holy shit.
It's amazing,
awesome,
man.
It's awesome, dude.
Yeah. We got Ryan, who just came out to the United States for like the 5th time in 1 year. He really needs to move back, but things are not really going well here, so he's not going to. But how was your conference out there, Ryan, in Texas?
Conference is great. Every time I go to the U.S., though, I feel like I'm in prison. I'm curious. The one you had removed, was that the topic was 9/11?
Correct, with Fitzgerald and
was it removed for bullying?
I don't remember.
Because Richard Gage and those little lilies like to flag everything for bullying if you debunk their nonsense.
I know Eric and I went on Kyle's show and we talked about Epstein and Pizzagate and John Podesta, and that one got removed for bullying. We got removed for bullying billionaire pedophiles. So that
they
happens.
did that to Atwood too. They flagged it for bullying. You're bullying Maxwell. Oh, you hurt me. You injure me. You injure us.
Because I talked about the real Pizzagate shit, not the fucking pizza shop. There's a sex ring dungeon there. I talked about the real stuff behind it. So,
dude, Texas was great, and Scott Ritter had another event up in Massachusetts that they canceled on him. Even though they'd already got the venue and he'd already bought the books and all that. I'm like, hell, you could have just come to Texas.
Yeah.
Oh well.
We should have come to Texas too. I mean, the fucking election turned out to be a joke. But anyway, speaking of the election,
there was the Ron Paul McAdams event too that we went to. I was not part of that. I just went to it, and then I had to hold my own.
Yeah,
a little too edgy to be in that, I think.
Speaking of the election, we've got Jeremy Kaufman's campaign manager, and he's here to explain why we had such a poor showing. It's basically all his fault.
Entirely my fault. Entirely my fault.
Justin O'Donnell, how are we doing tonight, man?
Oh, we're doing great. I just got one question. Like, Ryan, you say you feel like you're suffocating. You don't have freedom every time you come to the United States, but you live in a country that has a fucking emperor.
Yeah. And
it doesn't reflect kindly on us.
I mean, if we have an emperor with no power, you live under a bunch of plutocratic pedophiles.
Dude, we have a god.
I haven't paid taxes in 10 years.
Oh, that's good.
I don't know.
Our god emperor.
You don't pay sales tax?
No, I live in New Hampshire.
Not in New Hampshire.
Well, on gas.
You don't have a sales tax?
We don't have a sales tax in New Hampshire. Nope.
Awesome.
Yeah. What do you? Yeah, Justin. What do you I mean, when you buy gas or food, that's it basically, right? You can't really escape that.
I mean, food you can because I just don't buy fucking fast food.
Right.
I cook. You don't pay the room and meals tax. That's it. So
He
gas
siphons gas.
gas is legitimately the only tax you're paying here if you want to live off the dollar and don't have a W-2 and don't want to support the tyrants that want to kill you.
Mm-hmm.
You're not paying the inflation tax?
No, I bought Bitcoin at $13.
Because you bought it at $13 with how it's doing lately.
Yeah, I wasn't allowed. I was banned on the exchanges.
I didn't buy it on an exchange. None of the exchanges they could. Anybody who's like into crypto for the right reasons could have told you the exchanges were stupid fucking ideas.
You have to have an exchange to cash out and get your money.
No, you don't. You just live on it. I pay my fucking rent in crypto. I buy my groceries in crypto. I paid for gas this morning with crypto.
All right, well, none of that's available where I live.
Well you're so fucking free.
Justin's off the grid. I'm off the grid.
Yeah.
I am free because I live in a first world country that isn't at war everywhere and paying for genocide and apartheid.
The Japanese aren't doing that. That's true. And you know what was based, Ryan, is Abby Martin was just in Japan protesting the bases with the Japanese who want all our bases out of there. So she's got some footage coming out with that.
All it took to stop them was 2 fireworks shows.
Oh God.
Yeah, that's hilarious.
O'Donnell, he's coming in with the fire instantly. Read.
Yeah, that's how he rolls.
So how have you only had 1 episode taken down? That's my question.
I don't know, man. Some of the stuff that's still up on there, I'm not sure how.
Like, I'm shocked that you haven't had LPNH's Twitter taken down the past week just because of how hard you've gone after Israel.
Well, we don't know who runs that.
Yeah, that's right.
Those are anonymous trolls.
By the way, I did just appeal my suspension from Twitter for the 3rd time. No response this time yet, but a lot of people are wondering about that. I still don't think anything has technically changed. I haven't seen a tweet saying that the terms of services are any different. The terms of service are any different. So I'm not sure that.
No, I think the unbannings have been completely selective based on who Elon wanted to see back on the platform. Like he wanted to see Kanye back on the platform, so he unbanned Kanye. He didn't actually change the terms and conditions to just mass.
Kanye was never banned. Kanye was suspended and his time limit ran out and he got back on automatically. He has to bring up a board and then have the board bring in the unbanned. I don't have much faith in it.
Yeah, did you see the people he's choosing to help him come up with new terms of service, like the ADLs on there and a bunch of the same. I mean, he got rid of some of the individuals that were on there, but a lot of the looks like a lot of the organizations that are going to help with it are all the same still.
Well, Yoel Roth quit. That's good. He rage quit. That was the guy principally responsible for blocking the stories about Hunter's laptop. Of course, Hunter worked for Ihor Kolomoisky.
It's still a California-based company, and fucking
Devin Archer.
Is he going to dissolve the corporate structure in California and reconstitute the company somewhere else? Because if not, his board requirements are still dictated by state law, and California is going to require he has X number of minorities, X number of gays, and X number of women on any board he constitutes within the company.
I thought he moved to Texas, no? Or it doesn't matter because Twitter still out of California?
It doesn't matter where you live. It matters where the company's registered.
Guys, I think I'm out with this fat faggot making the Hiroshima joke. Y'all can enjoy the show without me.
Wow.
That's the fucking limit for him? Wow.
That was a plug. That was pulling the plug.
God, I thought he was supposed to be the offensive one. He's a fucking little coward who can't handle a one joke.
Wow. DeSanctimonious. Ron DeSanctimonious is mad at me. He doesn't like what I called him. Oh.
Well,
God, it took him a few minutes to realize it was a Hiroshima joke too. Like,
this is awkward.
How are we feeling about Tuesday, Reed?
I don't know. You mean last Tuesday?
Well, yeah, I'll talk about the election first, and then what the show that we're going to be treated to this Tuesday from Mar-a-Lago.
Oh yeah, is he actually going to announce? You think, or
he said he's going to make an announcement regarding 2024. He didn't say whether he's going to run or endorse somebody, or it's clearly not going to be Ron DeSantis' endorsement. We know that much.
Mike also said he's going to announce a new book on Tuesday. It ends up not being the presidential announcement. We have a children's book coming out with a foreword by Jeffrey Epstein, From the Grave. Okay, it's going to be unbelievable. It's going to be good. I mean, all eyes will be on Mar-a-Lago for sure.
Yep.
Oh, is it going to be Mar-a-Lago? Is it going to distract from Blake Masters still losing in Arizona after a week?
I never heard of Blake Masters. I don't know who he is. I never endorsed him. He's a loser. He's like, if everyone wins, I get the credit. If people lose, I cannot be blamed. He can't.
That's how I feel about managing their campaigns.
Yeah, when you're right, the campaign manager.
Yeah. So, I mean, Trump has been talking about Arizona all week as if it's going to make a fucking difference. But is anybody actually surprised by this little thin blue wave we had?
I was. I really thought everything was going to swing. I thought everything was going to swing right. I thought so. Maybe I was. Maybe I obviously I was wrong. I thought not just with the elections, but I thought people were becoming more right wing in general. Just from, I mean, I got an echo chamber and it's all anecdotal, but the way I don't know, I thought the ultra progressive stuff that's kind of shoved down people's throats was pushing the moderates in a more right wing direction, but apparently not. So
I went out door knocking and just talking to independents, door knocking and campaigning. It felt like everyone was leaning right. People, all they cared about was inflation. And one random independent voter even started bitching at us about ESG scores, and that was the one thing he was voting based on. And I was expecting a red wave, but then when it happened, it's turned into a thin blue wave instead. I'm like, it's actually not that surprising.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I had it wrong. I thought Baldock was going to win, even though that the last week was just awful for him. I still felt there was enough anger and resentment towards the Democrats that he was going to eke something out, but didn't happen. And Mike was right. He said Maggie Hassan was going to win, and Mike was right about that. So, Sensei Fitzgerald.
Good evening, gentlemen.
How are we?
Oh, how's it going, Adam?
Hello.
See, Adam's apparently a little bit harder to offend.
Well, I have anything to be offended about.
I mean, I can understand, man. That was cringe. That was pretty cringe. But
you thought that was cringe. It wasn't fucking. I hadn't even gotten started. Jesus Christ.
He gets up and chooses violence every day, Reed.
Every single morning.
That's what Justin
it's
does.
A way of life.
Well, we had a couple of things happening during the week, actually. So there was a huge story, actually, and nobody reported on it, as usual, because it's 9/11. That's why. The release of the ever-awaited interview between Bush and Cheney was actually released this week under the Biden administration.
Were there a lot of redactions?
Which one was that?
The 9/11 Commission went and interviewed George Bush and Dick Cheney. They weren't under oath, and that interview actually was taken on dictation on paper, and it wasn't recorded actually. So it was finally released this week, and it did show that Bush and Cheney definitely had a shoot-down authority, but until after all the planes were hijacked and crashed. So it really didn't matter about the shoot-down authority whatsoever. So
Well, I mean, what could a shoot down authority that early when they weren't armed? I mean, the planes that took off out of Odysee, New Hampshire, like the pilots have come out and open, like, and even all the tapes from the air traffic control conversations between the Air Force pilots, the New Hampshire Air National Guard pilots, and ground control, like they didn't have missiles. They got up and they were in the air unarmed, and they were told. At one point, a pilot asked, "What are we even supposed to do?" And his flight commander responded, "Hope your ejection seat works."
Yes, you'd be right, actually. And with as just to point out, Flight 93, there was Air National Guard pilot Heather Penny actually was going to crash into Flight 93 and eject after doing so. Nevertheless, but it was quite revealing that the military chain of command was actually broken on 9/11. Just as I thought. Dick Cheney is the vice president, but he's not part of the chain of command. And with Rumsfeld evacuating out of the Pentagon and George Bush in Air Force One, the only person at the emergency command center was Dick Cheney, of all people. So there you have it.
Well, not like there was much to command anyways. I mean, after the post-Gulf War drawdowns, the U.S. Air Force didn't even have the capability to successfully patrol or enforce a no-fly zone over North America. In the wake of 9/11, they had to call in NATO for assistance, and it was actually the Italian Air Force that protected the U.S.'s East Coast against potential attacks.
Yeah, and also after the Cold War, we had a decrease of air defense because we didn't have a verified enemy. So a lot of interesting things in that 31-page document. And also, of course, Reed, you were saying about the red wave that fizzled.
Yeah.
Boy, that was a disaster, but not totally, actually. So all they did was switch sides. The Senate belongs to Democrats and the House belongs to Republicans. And the one thing that is quite evident is that the country remains divided. And they're blaming the libertarians. I saw this too. They're blaming libertarians for it. I saw Chase Oliver being blamed for interfering with some votes that could have went to Herschel Walker.
Are you telling me that a single Republican in Georgia who would have voted for a MAGA Republican instead chose to vote for a gay progressive?
Yeah, that's that's what I thought too. Like so many. Well, first of all, so many of the races, it didn't matter. Like in New Hampshire, for example, like I mean, a lot of people didn't even bother blaming us. I think they did it first, but then it just kind of evaporated.
Did it matter anywhere? Even in Georgia, like they have a runoff. And like, here's what I actually don't get about Georgian libertarians. Like they run to try and force a runoff. What's the point? You didn't actually spoil anything because all you did was throw it to another race where they get to determine how it turns out without you affecting it. So like you can't even claim that victory long term because they're going to go to a runoff. They're going to figure out how your supporters would have voted.
Yeah.
So what does this mean for the Libertarian Party in general? I mean, they had one decent showing with Kaufman, and Chase Oliver was up against Mountain and Mohill. But does this mean that the Libertarian Committee will continue to be that third party that everybody needs?
There's a difference between continuing to be that third party and continuing to be the third party that everybody needs. Yeah. And what everyone needs and what everyone wants are two different things too. Like, let's face it, there is no political solution at the federal level, and just running against the wall, hoping it's going to be different next time is just a recipe for fucking disaster. If you can run at the wall and have fun doing it, like we had a blast with Kaufman's campaign. It was super fun to do it. But like, if you're not having fun and you don't have a goal other than winning the election or spoiling the election, why waste your time and money?
Yeah, that's how I feel. Like, I've disagreed with a lot of Republicans who want to run as Republicans because they end up catering to the Republicans on so much shit. So, it's like, why even run? If you get in there, you don't change anything. But I think you can also run as a Republican without being a sellout. You can, you don't have to, give into their demands, especially on a lower level. I mean, if you're running for president or something, it's a little bit different, but who cares? Like if you're running for local office, And even if you're running for governor or something, like why? I mean, we had to, what was it, Justin, get 3,000. I think we got 3,000 signatures, but we ended up getting more like 6,000 or something.
Yep.
Just in case there were mistakes or doubles or, incorrect information or whatever. And, we had to do all that just to get on the ballot. And then on top of that, most people don't bother voting for anything other than Democrat or Republican anyway. So I don't know. It does seem like kind of a huge waste of time.
I think one of the best moments, though, was Shane Hazel in that gubernatorial debate with Bilderberg Abrams and dickhead there, Kemp. And he just was fire, man, and really showed what can happen when a libertarian gets in there with some wind in their sails and can show the alternative to the people. Now, I know the outcome is not what libertarians would want, but nonetheless, it was exciting to see someone up there saying those things and calling them both out, especially the governor there about what happened with COVID and all that.
Super
stuff.
exciting.
That was awesome.
Super exciting to hear somebody actually speak truth to power in that kind of manner and just be that blunt force object injecting itself into the system. But at the end of the day, he got 0.7% and had no impact on it. Even standing there, even on a televised debate, even having his name, his face, and his ideas put in front of every Georgian voter, they still chose evil.
Yeah, I mean, I know it. Yeah, him being in the debate was great for Twitter and for clips and everything, and it energized people who were excited to finally see an alternative in there. But yeah, I don't know. So going forward, what's the what's the end game really? Is it just keep doing that, having little bits of impact, or?
Well, my end game is to stop giving money to the Libertarian National Party, stop giving effort and support to the Libertarian National Party, stop giving your time and energy to people who don't know how to win and don't want to learn how to win and are willing to throw it away and just dump it into a garbage fire of unnecessary losses and wasteful spending, because that's what it is. We're supposed to be the fiscally responsible fucking party here, and we're sitting here just burning money every election season. And focus on things that matter: your city councils, your school boards, your board of aldermen, your local elections, and your state house. And don't freaking wait for the Libertarian Party to give you an option, because if that option is being hindered by ballot access and the systems that exist, I have no respect for those systems. Why should anybody else have respect for those systems? If you live in a blue city, throw a fucking D next to your name, run on a platform of libertarianism, and I guarantee you still have a solid chance of getting elected if you get through the primary, because the average voter won't know what you stand for. They're just going to see the letter and check a box. But then all of a sudden, you'll be in a position to make a difference and improve the lives of yourself and your neighbors.
But the biggest victory read was Fetterman, right?
Oh, yeah. So I got a clip we got to play. This guy is now in the Senate.
This is incredible.
And I think this is just incredible.
How much do you love him, Reed?
I do have a specific question, which you can continue on this topic, but you have made two conflicting statements regarding fracking. In a 2018 interview, you said, quote, "I don't support fracking at all. I never have." But earlier this month, you told an interviewer, quote, "I support fracking. I support the energy independence that we should have here in the United States." So, Mr. Fetterman, please explain your changing position. 60 seconds.
I've always supported fracking, and I always believe that independence with our energy is critical. We can't be held, ransom to somebody like Russia. I've always believed that energy independence is critical, and I've always believed that, and I do support fracking. I've never taken any money from their industry, but I support how critical it is that we produce our own energy and create energy independence.
I must correct the record.
Just a second, Mr. Oz. I do want to clarify something. You're saying tonight that you support fracking, that you've always supported fracking, but there is that 2018 interview that you said, quote, "I don't support fracking at all." So how do you square the two?
I do
I
support
didn't pause
fracking,
the video, by the way.
And I support fracking, and I stand and I do support fracking.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Fetterman.
Dude.
Yeah. So that's see, I think it's better off that he I think it's better off that he won than Oz, because Oz is just a Democrat with a Republican veneer. But I mean, if you look at his policies, he's basically a centrist Democrat, where Fetterman, he's just like a, blatant in your face literal retard, at this point. And I don't feel bad making fun of the guy. Like some people are like, you can't make fun of him because of what happened to him. I mean, if you're going to still run for office after you're that disabled, that visibly and audibly disabled, like, I don't know. I think, all bets are off. People can say whatever they want about you. I mean, there's this idea that discrimination is bad, and there's different types of discrimination. Like if the government is not giving you basic human rights based on the color of your skin or something, that's bad discrimination. But there's good and sensible discrimination that happens every day. When you apply for a job and you have to sign an application and you have to prove that you have past work experience that makes you qualified for your job, that is discrimination. If you're going to make the football team, or if you're going to, just like all these different bars you have to reach, that's all discrimination. And there's some people who think that's bad. And I don't know. I think if you're going to be running for one of the 100 most powerful seats in the country, then, discrimination is a good thing, and discriminating you for not being able to understand anything.
Being able to be pilots.
Yeah.
Not allowing the blind to be pilots.
Let me ask you guys a question. I want to get your thoughts. Do you think the only reason why, one of the reasons why the Republicans did so poorly was that they had ill-qualified candidates like Dr. Oz and Herschel Walker running?
Yeah, the lack of quality of candidates definitely didn't help. I mean, Oz and Herschel Walker, I mean, that's just that's a complete joke.
Or Blake Masters or Don Bolduc, or has anybody actually run down the list of Tulsi Gabbard endorsements and see how they turned out?
Hey, Chuck Grassley won. He got reelected.
Okay, 1 for 20 is still 5%.
JD Vance won.
JD Vance. We're still holding out on Herschel Walker. He might get there. He's got a chance, which I've been rooting for him before it was like a 50-50 with the Senate. I mean, I know technically now the Democrats have it, but I just want him in there. I think Fetterman and Walker being in there is, a huge service to democracy.
That would be everything. It's a service for the meme war and for honkers around. But yeah, well, also, Adam, there's a huge, battle within the Republican Party between MAGA and the people who want to just are done with Trump and move away from him and try and run less cartoonish and clownish people for office. So I think,
like Mitt Romney,
definitely, like
Ron DeSantis,
part of it. Yeah, DeSanctimonious.
Well, I mean, what's the difference between Ron DeSantis and Trump other than one can spell when he tweets?
I think I think this is very weird, but I'm going to defend Trump a little bit, which I haven't done much. So I think Trump, I don't think he really gives a shit about the U.S. empire. I don't think he really gives a shit about the Saudis or the Israelis or any of it. Like, I don't think he really actually cares. He just does whatever people around him tell him to do, because then they'll pat him on the back and make him feel good. I mean, he's just like a completely self-absorbed, egotistical maniac. So that might not sound good, and it isn't for the most part, because then they could trick him into doing anything he wants. But his incentives were actually, if there had not been any external pressure, his incentives seemed to be less interventionist. Like he was like, I don't really know why we're arming these rebels against
Ron DeSantis released an ad that says he was sent by God.
I know. Well, that's where I'm going with this. So Trump, I feel like his incentives, even though he was always, he was always hijacked and pushed into the, in the wrong direction, his incentives were a little bit toward us, a little bit, not nearly enough. And like, he obviously did want to get out of Afghanistan. He didn't want to keep arming the rebels against Assad, where I think DeSantis like fully wants to do all that stuff. Look at his record in Congress. He wanted to, I think he introduced a bill to establish Russia as like a terrorist state and say that they were unlawfully, occupying Crimea. And he's done like all these anti-terrorism bills. And these are things he introduced, not things he just voted for. So to me, his incentives are very neoconservative. I don't really see him, holding anything back.
Yeah, he's definitely, his time in Congress, we've talked about it, Reed, before when DeSanctimonious was in Congress. He's He's an interventionalist and, neocon foreign policy to the max. Whereas, like you said, Trump, whatever he does, it's motivated to make him look as good as possible and stroke his ego and his vanity. So, yeah.
Has AIPAC ever given Trump money?
Yes, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, I mean, yeah, with Kushner there and all those ghouls that he had around, I wouldn't be surprised at all.
But I think the Jewish lobby, especially J Street and AIPAC, see the major difference between a DeSantis and a Trump. And actually, DeSantis has made no qualms about his wish to military invade Iran, something that Trump has held back on. In fact, that's one thing that Israel basically criticized Trump over, was basically Trump's unwillingness to engage with Iran or even North Korea for that matter. Actually, he was better for foreign policy than past presidents, Republican and Democrat. It's the only saving grace for Trump, actually. He continued the wars of the Bush-Obama period. I mean, Syria and Afghanistan and Iraq. But at the same time, he didn't engage in any new ones, which is, so, like I said, the only saving
Not
grace.
for lack of effort.
The bar is low.
Well,
yeah,
no,
but
listen, I'm not. Hey, wait a minute. I'm not here defending Trump by any means. But if we're going to compare Trump to say Obama, I'm going to say Obama's a bloodthirsty maniac.
Sure, right. But like not for lack of effort. I mean, Trump did assassinate a top Iranian general just on a whim. Trump tried very hard to pick a fight with Iran.
That was the most worried I was the whole 4 years that he was
Same.
king. I was. That's the most.
It was close. That's only.
Yeah.
That's only because
that was the behest of Israel.
Qasem Soleimani was actually pressured by the Gulf. By the way, that was also a Gulf issue, as well as the Israelis. And when you have two powerful lobbies lobbying the United States to do something about the man who's actually eliminating the enemy in Iraq. Well, I mean, Trump really had just about almost no choice. But, that's, I mean, after that, basically, a lot of people did think that we were that close to an engagement with Iran, and we were. But
no, we're still that close. Like Iran is a country that deals with revenge in a generational term. Like Iran took revenge against Israel for a bombing of a facility 30 years later. And like people were like shocked and didn't see it come. They bombed like 7 embassies across the world simultaneously. And everyone's like, why did you do that? Iran's like, because you blew up our research facility. That happened like 30 years prior. Like Iran sits on shit and lets it cool and approaches things methodically and generationally. We don't know when they're going to respond to the assassination of Soleimani. It could be all of a sudden you see like 10 U.S. embassies get blown up across Europe on the same day. 10 years from now, and Iran's gonna be like, haha, we showed you.
Well, I mean, what would you do if you had teams of your nuclear scientists assassinated by members of the Mossad over the years, which are backed by the United States,
blessing of the West,
and the coalition itself? I mean, look, there's no winners here. This is almost like similar to people who criticize the United States in the Republican department because, we might be defending Putin to an extent. But yes, but at least we acknowledge that Putin is also a mass murderer. It's like there's no clean hands here. So it's like, just like in voting, do you select the lesser of two evils? Well, that's what the majority of Americans do anyway. But with Iran itself, they've been under threat, sickle and hammer for the last 35 years.
Yeah, but Adam, they almost have a nuke. We got it. Like they'll have one in 2 weeks.
2 hours.
That's Netanyahu. He said so.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Netanyahu. That's why Obama basically fell out with Netanyahu all those years, because Obama said he didn't want an Iraq 2.0.
Yeah,
Adam, do you know about I guess Scott Horton brought it up on the last show I did with him, but I haven't looked into it. But do you know about the Biden administration apparently released something saying that, Iran can't make a nuclear weapon and they never have been able to, and it's all bullshit. Do you know about that? Like what the document was or whatever?
The Atomic Agency actually came out a couple of years ago during the Obama administration and actually said that Iran has no capabilities of building a nuclear weapon because they've allowed the team from the Atomic Agency, the IAEA, and basically do audits of the quantities of enriched uranium that they have, which is for energy purposes. And basically, they came out and wrote a report, 2015, basically suggesting that Iran has no capabilities to build a nuclear weapon at all. And Iran's been quite open about having audits and keeping up with the United States wish. And that's only because they want the release of those economic sanctions, which are draining the country so badly.
And they want to keep getting that Obama cash to fund their gender studies programs.
Gender studies, yeah. It was Pakistan. Was it Pakistan? We paid 20 billion or 20 million.
Of the bill there, the COVID bill. It was stuck in there.
20 million to Pakistan for gender
studies. The Democrats
studies.
want to send RuPaul over there and Caitlyn Jenner to Pakistan to teach the Pakis on the border with the Indians about nip and tuck. Nip and tuck. It's a new procedure. Unbelievable. To the tune of billions.
See, I always thought gender studies in Pakistan was like throwing gay people off of roofs or something. And like, sorry.
It could be. They're pretty harsh over there.
Iran has like led the world in progressive gender studies. Like Iran has had transgender protections since the 80s. And like their gender studies programs, Iran has had state-funded transition surgery for transgenders since the late 90s. Like, well, they still throw gays off of roofs, but if you're transgender, you're like bowed down to and given extra rights.
I was going to say, if I lived in Iran, I'd probably want to transition to being a man if I were a female. If I lived in any part
it's the other way around where you get respect. Like women who transition to being men are just like
they're just told to go play soccer.
Right, but like men transitioning to be women in Iran, they get to retain all of the rights they had as a man, while then getting all the respect they're due as a woman.
Oh, I see.
And I think they send a lot of them to Canada for that surgery. I saw a piece that Vice did years ago about this sort of thing in Iran, which was interesting. But yeah, I will say, Adam, those are two things I give Trump for, even though he bombed Soleimani, and that was awful, and I was very critical of him for that. We didn't start an all-out war with them, and he didn't, invade Iran or anything like that. And then he went and met with Rocket Man. Now, even if that's just symbolic and nothing really huge came of it, we didn't bomb North Korea, and we didn't do regime change. And that's how low the bar is for how horrible our government and the presidents are. That I saw that and I loved that and I cheered Trump for that and thought it was great. Plus the spectacle of it. I appreciate the comedy and the spectacle of Donald Trump over there at the DMZ with fucking Rocket Man holding hands and, singing YMCA by the Village People. I thought that was just incredible. So if anything, we need him to get back in there for 24 and invite Rocket Man to the White House and have a summit in a parade. We're going to do a parade. I'm going to show Rocket Man my weapons. He always gets to parade his around in Pyongyang. I never get to do that here. I'm going to do it this time. Believe me.
So I wonder if, I always thought if DeSantis is the nominee, he just wins in a landslide. But after Tuesday, I'm not so sure I believe that anymore. And it's a couple things. One is the Republicans don't. This is very obvious in New Hampshire. The Republicans don't have the ground game the Democrats do. The Democrats have the get out the vote thing on lock. They get college students out there. They were talking about it on WMUR. They literally bus them from UNH to the polls where they need to go. They had buses go there and, say which polling station they were going to and pick kids up and bring them directly there.
Lines. Like I have never waited in a line to vote before. Like it's usually when there might be like a handful of people. It takes a few minutes to get your ballot, go vote. I went at 8:30 in the morning, first thing in the morning, and there was a fucking line out the door to vote. And I'm in a very blue district I live in. But like it was very young people, and then like it took time to get in the door. Once I got in the door, the line wasn't for people to get their ballots. The line was for people to register to vote so they could then get their ballots.
Right.
It was all new voters.
And so correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe in New Hampshire, you don't need to be a citizen of New Hampshire. You just need to have a domicile and to get an ID to vote. That's all you need.
What is a citizen of New Hampshire other than you living in the state? Like states don't have citizenship in any defined or meaningful manner. That's just a term people throw around when they're trying to be argumentative. And it's usually state reps who don't know the first thing about election law when they're like, we're not a citizen of the state. You fucking live here and you pay taxes here. You're a citizen of the state. And I'm sorry, when the only tax we have is rooms and meals tax, the college kids who eat at McDonald's every day probably pay more taxes than most New Hampshire citizens.
So, I mean, yeah, I guess driver's license is what, but not everyone has a driver's license, I guess. So, I mean, because, so let me ask you this. So, can you vote in 2 different states at the same time? How do they keep that from happening? If you're a college
That's a
kid,
federal law. That's a federal crime. There's no state prohibition against that. But it's a federal election crime.
So how do they keep track of that?
They keep track of who voted, and it's nothing you can do to prevent somebody from casting that vote. But it is like you investigate it after the fact. You can compare the voter rolls who showed up to draw a ballot. And
do they actually do that though? Do they actually?
Yeah,
does Arizona cross-check with New Hampshire and make sure no student that's going to UNH voted in Tucson and in Danbury or something?
It's up to you. It's up to you to do it. Or request it to be done. There was an audit after the 2020 election, and they caught a whole bunch of people. There was a couple in New Hampshire, an elderly couple that was prosecuted for it. Dipshit that was running for Congress in the 1st district. I forget his name, but he was a Trump stan.
Matt Mowers.
Matt Mowers was being investigated for casting ballots in both New Hampshire and New Jersey.
In Jersey, yeah, he's a Christie lackey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they do go after people occasionally for it, but here's the difference. The elderly couple that had a house in the Lakes and a house in Massachusetts, they got prosecuted for it. Matt Mowers just got condemned for it because he's part of the political elite.
He got Christie to come up here and eat barbecue with him.
Yeah.
I wonder if Christie's going to run.
So, but no.
So is there any legislative fix to that problem of college students voting? Has there been any bill proposed or any way to try to close that loophole?
No, because you have the right to register to vote same day, and you don't even have to show proof of residency. Because in New Hampshire, they're not allowed to even ask you for ID. You can't even be asked for your ID or any documents when you register to vote. Because
they're not allowed to ask you for that because they did for me.
No, if you say no, they have to. Okay, here's the thing. Sign the thing and send that you swear you live here and you promise, and we'll send you a postcard to the address you list, and then you have to return that postcard within a couple months. But if it's sent to a vacant lot in Portsmouth, there's nothing we can do. Your vote still got counted.
Yeah. See, I don't think that's right. I mean, some libertarians are like the, maximum voting rights people. And I used to be that way, but once you realize voting is basically violence, right? Voting is.
You want to know the terrifying thing?
Sure.
The voting rights people, the maximum voting rights people, they compile the list of states where it's the easiest to the hardest to vote. New Hampshire is the hardest state in the country to vote in.
Really?
Well, I showed up here in Peterborough. They wanted my ID, and then they checked my name against a list, and then gave me the ballot, crossed me off, and I went and voted. And then I had to change my registration, so I'm embarrassed to admit this. I was still registered as a Democrat because I voted for Tulsi, obviously, in the 20 primary. And I went and asked the woman, I'm like, what is my registration? Because this would make sense, because I got disinvited to a fundraiser that I threw down $250 to go for a chance to get a VIP photo op with Mike Pence to get a picture with him. And I was going to come with a camera and troll him and film me doing Trump to him, making fun of him. And that's why I did it. So a couple days before the event, the county chairman, one of the counties in New Hampshire, emailed me. He's like, yeah, man, we have to disinvite you. This is for Republicans only. And I was like, oh, fuck, I'm probably still registered as a Democrat. So I went and checked on election day, and I was. So
That's why they lost.
I said, get me, what's that?
That's why they lost. If they're going to refuse to let people who aren't Republican come to their events, see their candidates, hear their pitch, they're only campaigning to 28% of the state, and they're telling independents, libertarians, and Democrats to get fucked. We don't want your vote.
Right. That's what I said to him. I said, hey, man, I'm an independent. Yeah. Obviously, I would never see myself voting for Mike Pence, but that's bullshit. So I got my money back. So when I went to the polls to vote, in this most recent election, I went right back to independent. So I'm an independent again, Reed. I'm not with any party. None of the above.
I'm a Republican now. I registered as so they kind of fucked this up because I registered to vote for Bruce Fenton in the primary, and I had to get it. You have to be a Republican to take the ballot.
Right.
And they said, on your way out of here, you can re-register as an independent. And I said, okay. So I took the Republican ballot, went in and voted. And then on the way out, I was like, all right, I'd like to re-register as undeclared, which is independent here. and they said, "Oh yeah, you can't. You were supposed to do that beforehand." And I was like, "Okay, when can I do it next?" And they just said, "When you vote next." And then this time I went in and got my ballot, and I said, "All right, I'd like to, re-register undeclared." And they said, "Oh, well, you have to go back around and get in line and come back in again and do it if you want to." And I didn't bother. So I'm still a Republican right now. Republican Reed.
Reed's a great Republican. He's a great guy. He's a great guy.
Yep.
Well, Justin brings up an interesting point. It's something that I was thinking similarly about on election night, was that the reason why the Trump Republicans did so poorly was because they basically alienated every opposition in regards to going out and trying to reach the masses. So they're very insular people. They're very catered to their own. They don't care about the outsiders. And this is where the non-Trump Republicans actually did well. So people like, I forgot the guy's name in Georgia, who Trump basically didn't back and ran against Stacey Abrams. I'm sorry.
Oh yeah,
Kemp?
Joe Kemp.
Kemp, thank you.
Brian Kemp.
Brian Kemp.
And DeSantis themselves. But the Trump Republicans did so poorly in these areas because I don't think they campaigned outside of their echo chamber, and I think that came back to hurt them. So that would
kind of like
right
libertarians.
Point.
Yeah, that's a good point, Adam. Same, Justin. Yeah, pure echo chamber, and I don't know. It's getting so I talk about this a lot with Reed. When we're hanging out, it's just gotten so toxic, and tribal, and echo chamber, and cliquey. It's just like fucking high school. Our politics is a high school cafeteria, and it's exhausting. It can be fun. Food fights are fun every now and then. As we saw our LPNH went to war with Warthog Meghan McCain. That was a great food fight for everybody.
Just wait for Christmas.
Oh God.
There may or may not be a pre-scheduled tweet on every federal holiday for Miss Meghan McCain.
Let's just say she's not going to like Justin O'Donnell's stocking stuffers.
Let's just say there might be a postcard mailed to every member of Congress.
Oh God.
I support this idea. I think it's great.
Unbelievable.
Adam, I'm sure Adam saw this, and I know obviously Justin saw it, and you saw it, Eric. But it was LPNH versus AIPAC over the last couple of days, and I don't think I originally Tom Woods quote tweeted AIPAC saying that they win 95% of their they won 95% of their endorsed elections. And he just said presented without comment. That was where we first saw it, and so we jumped on it. So here's our tweet that we made. The left thinks Russia meddles in our elections. The right thinks China owns most of our politicians. The truth is Israel does both. It's currently got almost 3,000 likes. And anyway, so we got condemned by Stop Anti-Semites, as we usually do, saying that this was another blatant display of our anti-Semitism, where's the lie in what we said, and where's the anti-Semitism too? I don't see it at all.
Well, I think it's almost misleading for them to say we won 95% of our endorsed races. Well, when you pick both horses in every race, you're gonna win.
True.
I want to know what 5% they lost.
Yeah, let's see, Thomas Massey. And is that it? Rashida Tlaib, huh?
What about Rand?
I don't know. Rand might be endorsed by AIPAC. You think? I have no idea. He's one of those I'm not sure about.
I wanted their money, and then I found out they were in bed with puberty blockers. I said, no thanks. I don't want AIPAC's puberty blockers.
So this was pretty amazing. This is the response we made. This video was put out by AIPAC, and Ryan actually sent this to me this morning, so I saw it. But here it is.
Please welcome Senate Democratic Leader,
the Senate Republican Leader.
Please welcome Speaker of the U.S. House of Representatives.
Please welcome Secretary of State.
I'm honored to introduce the Vice President of the United States.
Ladies and gentlemen, the President of the United States.
Please welcome back to the AIPAC stage the Prime Minister of Israel.
From day one, Israel found itself in a unique alliance.
The alliance between Israel and the United States of America.
In the United States, our support for Israel is bipartisan, and that is how it should stay.
Our strategic ally, our unbreakable friendship.
America is safer when we stand with Israel.
Because if you care about American security, you must care about Israel's security.
My friends,
America and Israel
need you more today
than ever before.
May God bless Israel.
And may God bless the United States of America.
Thank you.
That is the best ad the Libertarian Party never took advantage of.
Well, we are taking advantage of it now.
But like right at the end there, it's the policy, not the party. No shit, because there's no difference in the parties. Like, yeah. God, I feel like we can make a great parody of that with Jeremy Kaufman.
we could have. That's actually from a few. I think it's from 2019 too, or 2021 or something. It's not this year, but it was. I mean, they were bragging about it. AIPAC's openly bragging about how we control your politicians and we interfere in your elections, and then we just basically said, yeah, you control our elections and interfere and control our politicians, and then they got all mad that we said it's like, look, you're openly bragging about it. I don't know.
That's not even talking about Israeli blackmail ring like Epstein ran. That's just showing the stuff that they put in front of the cameras. That's not talking about, spying equipment that's found outside the White House, which I have to give credit to Politico. They actually ran a very big piece on that a few years back about the Israelis spying on the White House and getting listening devices, in and out of the White House. So, I mean, to anybody, it's obvious who's not bought and paid for. We could speak freely about that and about the power and the influence that they have. And, honestly, Kanye West is fucking opening the door for a lot of people who normally would stay very quiet about this. They're now like, oh my God, he's broke. Say what you will about what he said and what he's done, but
let's go to DEFCON 1.
Max Blumenthal, who's always been a great critic of Israel, a Jewish guy, said some pretty interesting things about what Kanye is saying and the ability to criticize Israel and AIPAC and the influence and power they have. So I said this to Reed earlier. I feel like the needle's moving. I don't know what you guys think.
Yeah, no, I think, the comments were certainly on our side in that exchange. They're like, what are you talking about? This is anti-Semitism. It's just so obvious.
The only people upset are libertarians.
And a couple. Yeah,
true.
It's true. No, I mean, you're right. True. It's like the fucking worthless libertarians, who are Archie Flower was tagging the ADL in response to Josh Smith for some things he was saying the other day. It's just like, dude, what is wrong with you? Like, when you're taking those people's side. But
reminds me of that time that like half of the internet tagged the Oklahoma City federal FBI chapter about one of my tweets.
Yes. Yeah. I mean,
it's not going to accomplish anything.
Well, I mean, to make it more obvious, they didn't deny what you just charged.
Right. Yeah.
It's name calling. They resort to ad hominem and name calling without addressing what exactly you're saying. Yeah. And I just sent you that Read the Politico piece. Mike dug it up for me. But yeah, I mean, it's more and more people are
Justin, you see this? The Libertarian, the Nick Sarwark Libertarian Caucus. The Libertarian Party gets money from Russia or China.
Where's my cut?
Yeah, like, no kidding.
I'll take a paycheck from anybody at this point. I might not do what they want me to do, but I'll cash the check.
This is what we want you to do. Justin O'Donnell for president 2024. The candidate government deserves. It's just full on chaos.
It's one of the worst ideas the Libertarian Party of New Hampshire has ever had. And
that's
y'all have had
something.
Some pretty stupid fucking ideas.
Justin, might you challenge Dave Smith for the nomination in 2024?
Why would I put myself through that?
I thought it was going to be his moment, Reed. We're going to.
I think maybe since we're talking about how the LP seems like a waste of time in a lot of ways, we should maybe run him for president as a Republican.
God, no.
No.
No. Well, what's the whole argument about is it the top leadership of the LP, or is it basically the unsavory characters behind it, or is it a mixture of both?
It's the political system in which we live. Like, the Libertarian Party will never become a political solution at the federal level unless we can drastically and dramatically change the kind of system of government we live in. When we have a first past the post electoral system and a democratic representative republic, we can't win. It's a two-party system. So trying to win with a third party when there's parties at all is never going to fucking happen. Unless you get a constitutional amendment to abolish political parties and make every election nonpartisan, and I hate to say it, publicly funded, so every candidate that makes it past a certain point in the primaries gets the exact same funding to work with, you're never going to stand a chance for an outsider or a rogue campaign to actually make a difference or make an impact. If we wanted to switch to a parliamentary system where you elect a parliament with proportional representation, then yeah, a minority party can still have a voice in those things. But like, we don't have that system. That's not what we live in. And putting controls on the amount of money can speak and limiting free speech isn't the answer either. So you can't have the government come in here to regulate the competition in the political environment to try and give us a leg up. The fact is, there's just no political solution. Like, you're better off trying to take the Capitol. The Capitol rioters on January 6th stood a bigger chance of making a difference for the political system in this country than the Libertarian Party does running candidates for U.S. Senate.
Hugh Shaman moved the needle that day.
Well, I have to agree somewhat with Justin here, because I did say that they had the right idea, but they went on the wrong premise. If they
we need
would
to get
have
a buffalo suit and we'll be all set.
Yeah, exactly. You know, the worst of the worst went to a riot and made them look foolish in doing so. But then again, you had a bunch of feds that were working with the Proud Boys and Oath Keepers that were there too. They were coming out and basically
To quote Thomas Jefferson, I'll say nothing of their motivations, but has there ever been a rebellion so honorably conducted?
Not even in Star Wars.
I
made that joke at him at the comedy show that Reed and I did that Justin was at, where I said, yeah, January 6th, it was half of them were retarded, the other half were feds, you know?
And we can't tell which half was which.
Well, then someone said, oh, you mean so they were all retarded? Do you have any of those clips, Reed, perchance?
Yeah, Justin filmed these for us.
Yeah, so we did a fun live Jackman Radio Naturalist Capitalist podcast up at the Shell in Rollingsford, New Hampshire, which is up on the coast. And that was a lot of fun. We had one of my good friends who I went to college with, who's become a pretty big comedian in Maine. He opened for us, Ian Stewart. And then
he was actually pretty good.
Yeah, he's a hell of a comedian, man. He's been at it for years, and he's really well respected. And he's
funnier than
guy.
Dave Smith.
He's a funny guy. So Justin was kind enough to film us up there. So now we're just chopping up and putting some clips out. So we got a couple here that I'd like to share with you guys.
All right, here we go. Here's the first one.
Mr. President. Hey, where's Jill? Oh!
He's doing the dementia Macarena.
Okay, Mr. President, the
I hired a black woman. I'm sorry. I grabbed her by the scruff of the neck and I went. I said, "Is that cocoa powder?" Look, man, I'm serious. I'm a hunter and Bo growing up in a racial jungle. But I'm woke. I'm not racist. What was your question? Look, man, you want to go do some jumping jacks out back? I'll go do them right now with corn popping up with a finger up your ass. Figure out who's better. Hunter's a great man.
Yeah, Mr. President, let me ask you about Hunter's biography. What's it called?
God bless him.
Who wrote the forward?
God bless my son, Hunter. He's got a big biting dick. I'm serious. I said, look, man, you can't go into a 7-Eleven or a Dunkin' Donuts in Delaware.
Oh, we haven't even got to Biden. Yeah,
there you go.
Yeah.
There's Joe Biden.
No, the crowd was great, man. There was probably like 40 people there. And it was just nice, man, because, you know, I've dealt with trying to do a similar show in a space and Mike and I got canceled from the venue because we had Ryan Dawson on our show, and they just, they were like, oh yeah, no, we don't want to associate with that. We're canceling you. And this was like only less than 2 weeks before we were supposed to do the event. So it was just refreshing to be able to go somewhere where free speech is actually a real thing. It's not just a theory, it's put into practice. And not only is it encouraged, it's celebrated. So we had a lot of fun.
But I'm going to have to use this show as evidence now, because there was somebody just like a week ago trying to demand I be canceled for my association with Ryan Dawson, just because I'm friends with Reed, who's friends with Ryan. I'm like, there's no association at all. I'm looking forward to making him upset, and it took less than 5 minutes.
It's too bad, because you guys could have united on a lot, like your hatred of the libertarians and Dave Smith and everything. Like I didn't expect it to go this way. Maybe Justin, you are the cure that's going to bring Dave and Ryan back together. Their combined hatred of you might be able to do it. I'm not sure, but
Reed, do you have the other clip?
As long as hopefully it'll be something that can make Ryan passionate, because like I've only ever heard him speak with passion once.
What was the other clip, Eric?
It's really quick. It's on my Facebook. Mike shared it. It's like 24 seconds. The one where you're like, you guys were Kerry simps. I was a Bush simp.
All right, let me look. I think I got
really,
it here.
It's really quick and punchy. I think Adam, if you haven't seen it, I think you're gonna like it. It's really funny. But it was it was fun. So we'll definitely Scott runs that place, or he booked us and he said, we'll have to do something again. So we'll definitely like to go back up there and perform. We had a good time, and it's nice to have a receptive crowd that probably pretty hard to offend, I would say.
Yeah, no, it was good. New Hampshire libertarians tend to be hard to offend.
Yeah, and they got a sense of humor.
All right, here we go. I think I got it.
And we have a whole longer clip too on Jackman Radio YouTube page. So we're trying to get better about clips, and getting shit out there. We know everyone's attention span is very short.
2 minutes and 20 seconds.
This is a good one. 26 seconds, guys.
Hey, come a long way. I think it's good to remind ourselves where we've been, though, in the past. Yeah, like you guys were John Kerry simps. I was a George W. Bush simp.
Yeah,
we can all. Can you imagine if we saw ourselves now back then? How horrified we'd be.
Cringe. You need to vote Democrat. Fuck George Bush. And I found out they're both cousins. They both masturbate in the same coffin at Yale.
Yeah.
How long ago was that, by the way?
A few weeks.
We did it in October. That was the second to last Friday of October, so like a month ago. And
it was a fun night.
It was fun.
You guys only had one joke that bombed, and it was trying to tell everyone Dave Smith was great.
I know. I was like, yeah, guys, how about Dave Smith? And then it was just like fucking crickets. And I could feel O'Donnell in the back kind of snickering a little bit, Reed. I could feel it. I could feel it. And then afterwards, Reeves was like, yeah, he doesn't have any fans in that room. I was like, yeah, I can tell.
He's got me. I'm a fan.
Oh,
still.
yeah. No, I'm a fan of Dave's. I like Dave. But, hey, man, we all have our own opinions. We're all entitled to
have it. The show's really putting a lot of stress on my friendships. I wasn't expecting all this tension between everybody. Here we are.
Let me try and play peacekeeper. Is it really that much of a stressful difference between someone like a Justin O'Donnell and Ryan Dawson and Dave Smith, or can there be?
That's the thing that's mind-boggling.
What is it? Is it basically a battle of egos, or is it a battle of?
I don't have an ego, and listen, I've told people from the beginning, I'm not in this to make friends. I'm not in this for self-promotion or to build myself up. People freaking find me hilarious, and I don't know why. I think they're like they have something wrong with them, because I'm not funny. I'm just mean. I'm just an asshole who doesn't give a shit who I offend. And if people find that funny, it should say more about them than it does about me, because I own what I am, and I have no problem burning bridges with people who are doing nothing to accomplish or improve my life. So like Dave Smith, to me, is a LARPer. He fucking can't drive, and he lives in New Jersey. He has no intention of moving. He has no intention of actually seeking out greater liberty, but he tries to make his voice heard about races that don't impact his life and speak about himself as some kind of fucking guru for the new libertarian movement. And by all means, if people want to take his advice, fucking take it. But I don't give two shits about him, and I have no problem burning that fucking bridge, because he has never and will never do anything to improve liberty in New Hampshire and improve my life in New Hampshire. So, like, until he does such a thing, which I don't think he ever will, I have no qualms about burning that bridge. Ryan, if he wants to live under a fucking literal empire, who just elected, I think their new prime minister's actually changing history books to say that the Chinese had it coming in Nanking in fucking Manchuria, and is teaching people that the Japan was a victim of World War II and U.S. imperialist policy, and that the U.S. put them up to Manchuria and Nanking, but the Chinese still had it coming and Japan did nothing wrong. I have no problem telling Ryan that that's fucking stupid to think you live in a freer country where you don't have free speech. Like, at least here in the U.S., while you might get, like, taken off of YouTube, you're not going to go to fucking jail yet for voicing stupid opinions.
Okay, now what do you three have in common?
I don't know. I actually think Ryan is right on a lot of the things he points out about Israel. I just think if he spoke in a more passionate manner, people would pay attention. Like, look, Alex Jones is a fucking idiot. 90% of what Alex Jones says is made up, fake, and gay, and based in some kind of reality that he's manufactured in his mind. But people listen to him and people believe him because he's passionate when he speaks. But Ryan speaks in a monotone tone, and even though he's saying everything correct and everything right, ding, nobody's going to pay attention because he's boring as shit. Ding. And that's my biggest criticism of Ryan.
Well, Dave Smith.
Dave Smith's a fucking hack. Honestly, I care about the Free State Project much more than the Libertarian Party of the Liberty Movement. Dave Smith is trying to build a big profile for himself. The one egotistical thing I'll do for myself is the biggest thing Dave Smith could do to help the Free State Project is just simply send a tweet promoting people to go download my book for free while it's still available for the next 24 hours. But he wouldn't do that because he has a big ego and he won't acknowledge that he even knows me.
So, I mean, even if all that is true, wouldn't it be, I mean, isn't it still beneficial that he's talking about what he's talking about, because it would push people toward the Free State Project? And for the record, I don't think that's true. Like, he did have Jeremy on his show and he has talked about the Free State Project. He talks up, I don't know. Like, I don't think he's not pushed people toward the Free State Project. I think, in some ways he does a lot more than any of us could because of the size of his profile. So
weirdly enough, Reed, like, I actually, like, we reach out to new movers and we try and get data from new movers, people who move for the Free State Project, and ask them why they moved, what motivated you to move, who introduced you to us, like, where'd you hear about the Free State Project from? I have yet once, never had someone say they heard about the Free State Project via Dave Smith. I've had quite a few people in the past couple of years say they heard about it after listening to your show. Like,
but a lot of people find out about me from Dave Smith. Like, I mean, even when he just shouts me out occasionally, I'll get 100 people that'll follow the show. So I don't think your premise is accurate. Like, we can burn all our bridges here in New Hampshire and have none left, but then, it just kills our
Then we won't
reach,
have to worry about anybody coming from Massachusetts. We'll burn the bridge, build a wall.
Yeah, I don't know. I agree with you, Adam. Like, I wish everyone could get along. It makes me sad when, I do think some people are too sensitive. I'll agree with Justin on that. Like, Justin could freak out at me. I've had friends freak out at me and just kind of move beyond it. Like, I've had arguments with people and, people have said stuff that I don't agree with and I find ridiculous or whatever. And I just move on because of the bigger picture. And I wish more people could do that. Because there are people who agree on most things, and some people who are even in the Free State Project in some way who don't talk to each other because they've held grudges for 3 years over something. And it is just like, come on, guys. Can't you see the bigger picture here? So I agree with you, Adam. I think it's inherent to libertarianism, though, that you have too many chiefs, not enough Indians, and people just kind of,
I think we have too many talking heads and not enough people doing the work that matters. Like, Reed, you came to an event last night. here in Manchester where we had that was one of the most important events of the year.
Mm-hmm.
And there was 40 people in the room of thousands of Free Staters. Maybe 40 people showed up, and those are the 40 people that are going to do all the actual fucking work to make sure liberty prevails and push forward actual gains in liberty in the next year. It's not going to be the thousands of people who showed up, who listen to podcasts, who make podcasts, who go out and do shit. It's going to be the 40 people in that room who are going to spend their time reviewing legislation, writing legislation, lobbying, making sure votes are counted ahead of time, making sure the right state reps are in the right rooms and making the introductions to make sure that the state doesn't expand and it is in fact reduced. It's going to be those 40 people who get shit done. And I will go out of my way to not burn bridges with the majority of those 40 people because they're the ones who matter at the end of the day.
Fair enough. I just think we all have a different role. Some people are better at different stuff, and something that I might look at as completely useless. I know people who became libertarians because of Gary Johnson, and that to me is kind of surprising. It's like, wow, okay, whatever. But
I know people who specifically joined the Libertarian Party because of Gary Johnson, because how upset they were over him and how upset they were about him and Bill Weld representing libertarianism. And they joined the Libertarian Party with the sole mission of becoming delegates to make sure a candidate like Gary Johnson and Bill Weld could never be nominated again. And Dave Smith's recent actions endorsing shitty Republicans has driven them to become never Dave Smith delegates.
So, Eric, this is all just reinforcing your position that you'll always watch from afar and never get involved with the Libertarian Party, right?
Yeah, I mean, I made this point with...
It's the smart person in the room. Eric's the big brain here.
I don't know about that one. Well, I've spent time with all you guys in person, especially Adam and Reed. We, road trip there down to Virginia. I try to get along with people, and I'll disagree with people and we can have disagreements, but I have a hard time with confrontation and argument and that sort of thing. And I know that's part of politics. I understand that that's a side of politics that I've just never enjoyed and never been big on. So, I just joining a party and getting in deep like that, and it just turns into factions and it's divisive. And you're right, Justin. A lot of people are not people who get things done or out in the ground or doing anything advancing a cause. I agree with you on that. And, I have for the last 20 years done a lot of that, and I am pretty burnt out on it. So like Reed said, everybody has something that they do. And for me, podcasting and doing this show has been my way of still being involved and putting out what I believe.
But you're also not out there telling other people how to do things.
No, exactly. And I'm not an authoritarian. I'm not a dictator. I'm really live and let live, man. And a lot more people could be better about that. And also I just take people for as they are, man, and who they are. I just say, hey, that's what that person is. It's what they're all about.
Are you familiar with Sayre's Law?
Sayre?
Sayre's Law. Sayre's Law defines that the level of emotion in a particular argument or disagreement will be inversely proportional to the stakes of the argument.
Sure.
So the less at stake, the more emotional and bigger the argument will be. Now, I take a big view at Libertarian Party infighting and how fucking emotional and argumentative people get over it because there's nothing at stake. They're arguing over who is going to be ineffective. They're arguing over the keys to a Twitter account, who is going to shit post their way to irrelevance faster, and who is going to have less of an effect on the national political scale instead of focusing on things that matter. That's what the Libertarian Party has become on a whole national scale, instead of people actually working towards meaningful incremental local change or migrational change or coming to New Hampshire and engaging in the Free State Project, the only successful libertarian movement in the past 50 years. There is so little at stake in the Libertarian Party that it blows my mind why people get so emotionally involved in it all. I don't tether my emotions to things. I'll be an asshole and I will burn bridges, no problem. But on the flip side, I have no social consequences for that at all because we have such a robust social community of libertarianism and people who share our values and cultures here in New Hampshire that I'm not reliant on making friends online to validate myself and not be depressed and fucking miserable and thinking about blowing my brains out every day like most of the libertarians in the country, because their Twitter community is the only thing they have.
That's interesting. Yeah, well, there are, so for some people, I mean, I have a pretty big social network and I know a lot of different people, and I think I go out of my way to not be divisive with people and be at odds with people. So, whereas I know, Justin, you're the opposite of that. So, but that's okay, man. That's your style, man. And
I don't go out of my way to do it.
Well,
It's
not that
just
you go
I'm
out
not
of your
gonna.
way.
It's just like if
You don't shy
conflict
away from
presents
it.
to me,
You don't
yeah,
shy
if
away from
conflict presents,
I
to
don't
me,
know if that's quite accurate. Like you seek it out a little.
Does he
bit,
seek it
a
out,
little
Reed?
bit. Yeah, a little bit. Not.
I
all
put
the time.
myself in positions where conflict is more prevalent than not.
Okay,
but I don't actively seek out conflict. But if conflict arises, I'm not going to shy away from it.
Well, let's put it this way: like you don't purposefully start conflicts, but once they start,
I will end them.
He ignores off ramps.
I will attempt to end them.
I'm not saying end them is even the right word. Yeah, I like Eric's explanation more. You avoid off ramps.
Oh, he could go past 15 off ramps and he doesn't even see them.
I mean, I know you're not a truck driver, Justin, but we have these things. You've probably seen them in the mountains. They're called runaway truck ramps, and if you lose your brakes, you're supposed to go off one of those truck ramps and stop. But Justin is like fully loaded, just fucking full throttle down the grade, ignoring all the fucking runaway truck ramps, and just goes crashing into something, and everyone kind of watches and cringes from the sidelines. But
then I walk away from the crash unharmed.
Fucking watches and cringes. But I think also, I mean, and this is for me, it's important from my experience in my life to have connections and friends that are outside of activism and politics, and I know them from other parts and periods of my life, and I think that's a nice balancing aspect. And from what I've observed being around libertarians and libertarian politics for many years, a lot of people in the liberty movement don't have that.
No, they don't at all.
And that puts a lot of people off, and I can understand that. And that's one of the things that kind of just stops me from completely going all in and being a libertarian, because like you said, Justin, a lot of it's just who's going to step forward to run into that wall and do something that ends up just being a waste of time.
Like if you ever get the chance to go to a Libertarian National Party convention, it's a blast. Do not go as a delegate. Don't waste your fucking money to be a delegate. But if you get the chance to go, like the parties and the social activities are amazing. And they know how to throw a party because it's the only time of year most of them ever get to see their friends.
In person. Yeah. Not behind a screen.
Right.
Maybe we'll go next year, Adam. Maybe that'll be our big road trip next year.
Oh man, you should. But also the weaponized autism is terrifying. Like there's people who obviously never talk to anyone outside of the libertarian movement. And they're like, hey, will you sit down and talk to an hour with me about this idea I had about how voluntary cannibalism could really be a thing?
Oh my
God. It's just
God.
like, no.
Yeah.
I'm not
I saw that Twitter thread today.
We're not going to do that.
I didn't even, there was a Twitter thread. I wasn't even aware.
There was a Twitter thread today. Somebody was like, freaking what other than the ick factor, what's actually wrong with cannibalism? If two parties consent to it and the deceased has no and the deceased prior consented to having their flesh being eaten, what's the problem? Next tweet, obviously this could only happen under communism, because under a capitalist system it would be exploited.
Now I don't even know where to go with that. But Adam, you've made this point, and I'll reinforce this. Outside of the libertarians, there is no meaningful serious gathering of anti-imperialists who are really hardcore, really well informed on it, really up on it, smart, passionate, and articulate about it. The libertarians have that hands down in American politics. Maybe there's some people on the left who are good with anti-imperialists. Dennis Kucinich has always been good about it.
Caitlin Johnston.
Yep, she's awesome. Abby and Robbie Martin are awesome. Jimmy Dore is great on it.
That Irish bitch, she's a fucking
Claire
the
Daly?
Irish socialist. Yeah,
she's based. I love her. I retweet her all the time. But
dude, who's this Samira Khan person? Do you know who she is, Justin?
No.
Yeah, she's
with Al Jazeera.
With Al Jazeera about talking about Israel and everything.
Yeah,
but you make that point a lot, Adam, about how it is the libertarians and the liberty-minded people. So that's one of the things that keeps me promoting libertarians and most of their messaging on foreign policy and the drug war, obviously, and surveillance and privacy. So I have to give the libertarians that credit, and that's one of the things that will keep me libertarian adjacent for sure.
Yeah, so if I could follow up on that, the only reason why I went, well, one of the major reasons why I wanted to go with you and Reed to the Libertarian Conference was to see for myself if the libertarian movement was basically a movement worth getting behind. And when I went there, I basically commiserated with young and old people that were there. And I'm more of a dreamy type of visionary, and something that is totally not feasible because of the realistic approach, because there's a battle waging within me. I'm a hopeless pessimist, but meanwhile, I have to think that maybe there's a, there's a prospective future for us. Is that, and I'm sure Justin's going to crush all this in a matter of seconds. So, I'm basically thinking that either we could just basically wait for the country to fall into a complete disarray, anarchy, and chaos and destruction, or we can actually work within our circle of libertarian movement or whatever independent or whatever movement that can get the ball rolling and try to reach out to the competing sectarian movements of like the Democratic Party, the Republican Party, the Independents, all these other movements, and try to get to the fence sitters. And you get to the fence sitters, you could probably get more and more people behind it. And all of a sudden, people will start getting a hold of you and notice you. And look, I mean, this is a dream, fantasy, but I mean, it's a fantasy worth trying to fight for. It's an effort, and I'm willing to get behind that. If I can get people like Justin or Dave Smith and Ryan Dawson and other people to get, hey, just put aside the differences for now and try to fight the real evil. And believe me, there's a real evil out there, and it's the federal government. And
Adam is the new Liberty Uniter.
I'm willing to
Like, he's
fight
picking
for
up the
that,
torch.
and I'm willing to get behind all three of you guys. Now, I don't know you personally, but hey, I'll get behind you guys to fight this real fight, because this fight's worth fighting for. And I don't have kids, so if anybody here has children or your loved ones have children, well, guess what? Aren't they worth fighting for the future of this country? I think so. And
Sure.
you know what? If I, that's what I believe.
Here's the thing. I just don't believe there are enough people. I don't believe there are enough fence sitters and people in the middle that could be reached. I don't think there's enough people that share the ethics, morals, and values of libertarianism to make a difference.
Well,
I can't
Adam,
listen.
you gotta-
I can't disagree with this, because there's a part of me that basically does say, it's like the devil and an angel on my shoulder. Is that basically it's a part of me that says, it's a waste of an effort, because most people will just simply pick the blue or the red or the
Right.
the lesser of two evils. But I have to. At the other hand, I have to believe. I have to have that faith, and I'm a secularist. I have to have that modicum of faith to believe that yes, it is possible to reach those people. Either that, or I could just go off and get 2 8 balls and just sniff my way to a bungee death after 3 days.
Now you're talking my language.
Yeah. I've been there, I've done that. But I mean, look, I would rather fight a good fight and fight a good cause. That's what I would do.
And you do, Adam. You do, man. And we read and we all love what you do and support what you do. And anyone wanting to know about 9/11, I send them to you and Dawson. And I think more people should do that.
I think I agree with Justin. I think there should be more on physical activism. And that's something that DJ Thermodetonator taught me once, is that street activism is where it's at. And if you've got feet on the ground, then it means you're doing something and you're sacrificing something, because you're putting yourself out there. Online activism, yeah, my name's out there, but you know what? I'd like to do a lot more. And if I could, I would. But it's hard to find like-minded people like this that are basically, willing to go against the narrative. And it's hard.
Well, the other problem is we have an autism issue with, you're personable, Adam. Like, I've hung out with you in real life, and you're friendly, and you can carry a conversation, and you have a sense of humor. And so few of the people who are in this sphere are able to do that. I mean, man, like, you really should go to the Libertarian Convention in 2024 just to witness it. It's I'm not sure a word aside from amazing really encapsulates what it's like.
Well, we'll see, because the next one's in D.C.
I was going to ask, next year's in D.C.?
Well, it's 2024.
Yeah.
But
well, they don't. Oh, okay. They don't do a national convention though every year.
Just every 2 years, because
okay.
So this last one, was
the Reno reset.
No presidential stuff. It was all just party officers and agenda and stuff like that. But next time it'll be the presidential and vice presidential candidate. So it'll be interesting.
So that one's going to be in DC in 24, Justin.
Yep.
Oh, if you want, I'll go with you.
That might be fun, Adam. When do we know what time of year that will be?
May. Yeah, so we can all pile in my Honda Civic and head down there again.
This time we're gonna rent a fucking Escalade or something. We're
gonna get a limousine, so
so
Adam can lie down.
It was worth the sacrifice, I'll tell you that.
It was fun. But Adam, you should come up to Pork Fest next year. That would be fun. We're trying to get everyone to come out and check it out.
I heard that's a really good time. There's a lot of people that come there. Is that right?
It is. Yeah, we're trying to get I think Pat McFarland said he might go, and a few other people. Great. So,
and it's mostly the type of people who actually do meaningful shit.
Yeah. And it's funny. I saw someone say Pork Fest isn't real life, and it's like, well,
it's not.
It's not. But the whole sitting around a campfire and shooting guns and smoking weed or whatever, it's pretty average Friday night in New Hampshire with the libertarian people. So, that part is pretty
for a lot of Granite Staters. It's fun for them. Yeah, the two Pork Fests. I went last year and I went this year, and I enjoyed myself. I had a lot of fun. Meet a lot of interesting people from all across the spectrum.
Yeah,
the spectrum being the key word there.
There's a couple different spectrums that work.
Okay, that's true. But yeah.
All right, guys. Well, let's call it a night. I got to get up super early tomorrow. But yeah, that was interesting. I'll say that much. That was definitely a first. It's too bad. I actually was looking forward. I knew Justin and Ryan were going to be. They have very similar energy, so I knew they were going to butt heads. But I was hoping we could get a whole show, because there's a lot of interesting overlap in discussion that could have happened. But oh well, here we are. So Eric,
like I said, I actually agree with almost everything Ryan says. It's just how he presents it that turns me off, and he just comes off as boring. That's my biggest criticism of him. When he actually gets into the weeds of shit, he's incredibly well versed and he's brilliant. I just wish that someone like him could be more energetic and enthusiastic when he presents his
Justin,
points.
You're gonna have to go back, Reed. You're gonna have to show him his fucking Rittenhouse rant that he went on in one of our early.
You haven't seen the Rittenhouse rant.
One of the most passionate, based, and brilliant, energized rants I've ever seen anyone give. So Ryan's a passionate guy. I'm bummed tonight went the way it did, but hey, it's all right, man. That's life. It's only rock and roll, but I like it. I'm glad, Adam, you were able to join us. Justin, I'm glad you could join us. The 20th Four Horsemen, it's always a fun time.
We had to have something interesting happen on the 20th Four Horsemen. They had to be.
We are wrestling fans. So. We're big wrestling fans. Sometimes you're going to see some wrestling happen that you didn't expect to happen.
Exactly. Yeah. I actually might have the Rittenhouse rant.
Everyone knows where to find me, Jackman Radio, on all the platforms. And I don't have any comedy shows right now, but I am going to be writing a new hour of material for Trump's comeback. I'm going to be doing a pretty big putting a show together for that, because once the king does announce and he comes back, the act's going to be in demand a lot more. My Trump act is always in demand when there's an election going on. So I'm looking forward to that. So I'll keep people posted on that, and we're going to be doing shows around that in the next year. So that's going to be a lot of fun.
Justin, you got your book that you're trying to sell.
Yeah. So you guys go to tinyurl.com/101nh. You can download a free copy of Live Free and Thrive right now. Limited time. Tomorrow's actually the last day to get it, the 14th, for free before Amazon starts charging money for it. It's currently a #1 bestseller, which I did not expect to happen. to be perfectly frank. I thought we could break the top 100 list, but didn't expect it to be a #1 bestseller. But you can go check it out and get it for free. It's all about all the tangible wins Free State Project activists have had in New Hampshire for the past 20 years and how we've made New Hampshire the most free state in the country. So go check it out. It's absolutely free for a limited time.
And also, Reed, I dropped my Venmo and my brother's Venmo info. That's the best way to support us right now. Either become a monthly patron, or if you like impersonations we do, you want to send us a tip, any of our stuff, we appreciate the support on Venmo. That's the best way to support us. So thank you. Now, I'm not part of that Bitcoin thing that just went down. I'll let everyone know that.
I've also always been a Bitcoin skeptic. I used to be like a gold bug, which I'm not anymore, but anyone who's followed me for a while knows I've always kind of been on the fence about it. But Adam, you weren't a planned guest, but thanks for coming on tonight. Where can people keep up with your work?
Yeah. Hey, listen, just Google my name, Adam Fitzgerald 911. I actually pop up. And actually, I don't take Bitcoin, but I do take EBT. So, I'll take that.
There you go.
EBT, the original cryptocurrency.
That's right.
Guys,
someone said I will probably delete this. I will not. It's up there already, so it is what it is.
Infowars.com.
You can go back and watch what happened if you just jumped in. Anyway, that's it, guys. I'm going to have Derek Prue on Tuesday night. He is pushing Defend the Guard legislation here in New Hampshire. He was at the meeting that Justin was talking about last night. And he's trying to find a sponsor, and he's not having a lot of luck. It's a bill that's kind of hard to push through, and you have to put a lot of work into it. It's not one that you just introduce and it takes care of itself. We'll have him on Tuesday night, and got more shows coming after that. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe. With that, we'll catch you guys on the next stream.
Thanks, everyone.